Hey, I'm Jusko from ProudMoney.com. Is the 15/3 credit card payment trick the answer to maximize your credit score? We're going to take a look, but first I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not already, and if you have already, I thank you for doing so. So somebody asked me recently about the 15/3 or 15/3 credit card payment trick as a way to make your credit card payments at the sort of right time in order to maximize your credit score. And honestly, I was not familiar with this 15/3 credit card payment trick to begin with, so I had to actually find out what it was about. So in this video, we're going to talk about what it is, and then I will also tell you whether it works or not. So in researching this 15/3 credit card payment trick or hack, I actually saw it described a couple different ways, but the most common way was this. You are going to make 2 credit card payments during that time that your credit card bill is due, and essentially you're going to pay half of what you owe on one date and half of what you owe on the other date. The first half of what you owe is going to be paid 15 days before the due date, so that's the 15 and the 15/3. The other half is going to be paid 3 days before the due date, so by the time your credit card bill is due, you have paid off the full amount, but you have paid it off in 2 different sort of installments. One on 15 days before the due date, one on 3 days before the due date. And the idea behind this is, well, I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you. There seems to be the idea that if you make 2 different payments, that this is somehow better for your credit score than if you had just paid the full bill right before it was due. However, it's not really true. So there are a couple things wrong with the idea of the 15/3 credit card payment trick. The first of them is you don't get extra credit for extra payments when your credit card bill comes due. So if you pay half 15 days out and half 3 days out, that is no better for you than paying your full bill 15 days out, or your full bill 3 days out, or your full bill 7 days out. So you don't get extra credit for extra payments, and this makes sense if you made 10 different payments during that period where it was due and you just chopped them up into smaller pieces. That wouldn't make sense that you should get more credit, because then everyone would do it in order to increase their credit score. And then the second problem is, and I don't know who came up with this idea to begin with, but maybe there was a kernel of truth that got sort of skewed when they came up with this idea. Because if you pay 15 days out or you pay 3 days out, the truth of the matter is your bill has already been created, and what has been reported to the credit reporting bureaus has already been established. So if there was the idea that you are reducing your balance so that less is reported to the credit reporting bureau, that could be something that is a good idea, and we'll talk about that in a second, but it's almost too late at that point, so it doesn't make sense to have this 15 days out and the 3 days out. So the 15/3 model doesn't make sense, but the idea of timing your credit card payments and making multiple credit card payments in a month in order to increase your credit score can make sense. But where the 15/3 model gets things wrong is it focuses on the due date, and it picks sort of a couple random days beforehand for you to make payments, and that doesn't make sense. Really, what you want to be focusing on if you are trying to maximize every point on your credit score is what is known as the statement date, or the closing date, or the end of your billing cycle. So you're going to have a certain billing cycle, and there is going to be a date that is a cutoff date, which is another name for it. And when that cutoff date comes, if you make a payment right before that cutoff date, well, then obviously you are going to decrease the balance on your credit card, and that decreased balance is what is going to be reported to the credit reporting bureaus. So the key here is credit utilization. How much of your available credit are you using? Credit utilization is a big piece of the credit scoring model, and ideally you want your credit utilization percentage to be under 30%. If you're really trying to maximize your score, you want to get it under 10%. And what can happen, especially to someone that is new to credit or maybe rebuilding, you may not have a lot of available credit. And even though you might pay off your bill in full every month, and you're doing exactly what you should be doing, if you are using the vast majority of the credit that is available to you, well, then that's going to look bad in your credit score because your credit utilization is very high. So what you can do in order to get your credit utilization lower when it actually gets reported to the credit reporting bureaus is to make a payment before the end of a billing cycle and get yourself below that 30%, below that 10% ideally, and then you can pay off the rest by the due date. So you're not really making any difference in terms of what you are paying overall, but you're timing the first payment before the end of the billing cycle, so a smaller balance is reported to the credit reporting bureaus, making your utilization lower and hopefully increasing your credit score. So these things are always easier with an example. Here is a recent Citi credit card statement of mine. The billing cycle went from July 9th through August 9th. August 9th is the last day when the purchases are going to be on that particular bill. So after August 9th, they are going to do the cutoff and they are going to send me the bill or tell me I need to pay it online. And then you can see that the balance here is $1109.99. Now, if we go look at my credit report, you can see that what was reported to the credit reporting bureaus was that I had a balance of $1109, and then you can also see that it shows what my available credit was, and it shows that I had a credit utilization for this particular time of 14%. I was using 14% of the credit available to me on that card. Now, a 14% credit utilization ratio is still pretty low, but let's say I really wanted to maximize my credit score and get under 10%. What I could have done during that billing cycle from July 9th to August 9th is I could have gone in on August 7th or August 8th, gone online and made a partial payment in order to decrease the amount that was going to get reported to the credit reporting bureaus and decrease that credit utilization. So let's say I made a $700 payment on August 7th. What would end up getting reported to the credit reporting bureaus then would be $409.99, which would be roughly a 5% credit utilization ratio, much better than that 14%. Now, just to repeat one more time, we are talking about the end of the billing cycle. If you're going to make a partial payment with the idea of increasing your credit score, you need to make that first partial payment before the billing cycle ends. Once it has been reported to the credit reporting bureaus, it's going to be too late. So you have to make sure you're making it before that cutoff date. So just to round out the example for my own credit card statement, if I made that $700 payment right before the end of the billing cycle to reduce the amount of debt I had that showed up on my credit report, well, then I still have $400 plus that I have to pay by the due date, and I can pay that anytime during that period. Doesn't matter if it's 15 days before or 3 days before. That part's not going to have any impact on my credit score. So when we look at this example, I paid $700 in one piece, I paid the other $400 plus in the other piece to take care of the $1,100 that I owed, but by paying the $700 before the end of the billing cycle, I reduced what was reported to the credit reporting bureaus, which helps me in my credit score. So if you've heard of this 15-3 credit card payment trick, throw it out the window. Instead, find out what the end of your billing cycle is, find out what that date is, and make sure that you pay down your credit card balance to less than 10% of your available credit by that date. So if you got $1,500 of available credit, pay it down to $150. If you've got $2,000 of available credit, pay it down to $200, and then whatever is left over, you can pay off by the payment due date. And actually, it is good to leave a little bit for that payment due date instead of always paying all the way to zero before the billing date, because you want to show that you are using your card, but using it very, very responsibly. So that 15-3 payment plan is a myth, but the idea of timing your payments in a certain way and making multiple payments over the course of a month is something that can help your credit score. It's not necessary for most people, but if you're really trying to maximize every point, that is a way to do it. Now, I've talked about this in other videos, and invariably, people don't understand my example. I'm doing my best with it, but if you watch this video and you don't get it, put your questions in that comment section below and I will do my very best to make it clearer to you. Otherwise, I thank you for watching, and as always, please go to proudmoney.com where we do credit card reviews, we talk personal finance, we talk deals, and all sorts of other fun stuff too. Thank you for watching. Bye.